have so much, because we got to do some tuck and pulls and some stretch and pulls. So we are not mucking around here.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so we need to take our rings off, right?
Totally up to you. Like this one I wouldn't wear, but the other ones I probably would. But it's up to you.
I'll take them all off and then I'll do
We're really only going to get one hand in our dough, and this is for your water. So we can kind of go ahead and start by putting some water in your bowl.
Is that water that we brought?
Yeah.
Our water that we brought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not want to use the water here unless I have to, just because I don't know what it's treated
Just
with.
some of it?
Yes, not just a little bit. We're just going to dip our fingers in here. That's all we're going to do with that. So y'all can put everything on the table.
Yeah, I like this.
Are we bringing our bowls up? So we can put everything on the table.
Oh, good, you're gonna help me.
Well, I'm going to help everybody. And if I need to, I'm going to get right in and work on your dough. But I'm super excited that you're all here, and thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much for wanting to learn about sourdough. I heard somebody say that it's a big craze right now, and really it has been a big craze for a little bit of time. And not only is it something I think that's really fun to do, I find it a little therapeutic, quite honestly. It's very scientific, it can be. It can be very artsy, so it just depends whatever level you're at, how you can fit it in. I am a math person, so I love it because it's all about numbers. We are gonna, just use measuring cups, but I think if you really get serious, you might want to get a little scale. They're $9, $10 on Amazon, so it's not a huge investment. Because that's one of the other things I want to talk about is sourdough does not have to be expensive. It's a process that pretty much, maybe that might be the only thing you don't have in your kitchen, but I really don't ever want someone to say, oh my gosh, I need this and I need that and I need this. I am going to show you some extra things that you could purchase if you wanted to make it a little more, but you don't have to have it. So the measuring cups that you see on the table came from the dollar store, all right? Like I said, the scale is, let's say, $10. I even have a calendar bowl, but I don't know where I put it. I think it's back of my wagon. That came from the dollar store. So I think really for $20, you could have a bread making factory in your home if you wanted to, okay? And we're gonna go over some terms and technologies and all of that stuff as we go on. But I just want to go around the room real quick. I know your husband wanted you to come here because he likes sourdough, but tell me what you're really interested in. Why are you here? What prompted you to make sure you had your flour and everything ready to go?
Jeanette invited me.
Okay.
My husband is a breadaholic. So
Okay.
yeah.
And so do you buy all kinds of bread at the store or just sourdough? What kind of breadaholic is he?
He loves sourdough, but yeah, a variety of bread.
Okay, okay. All right, great. And Jeanette?
I love them. I'm not a big one.
Okay.
What I love bread and
she's not leaving.
I don't know what she's doing.
I'll just
Okay.
say, if you want to do it, I can do it, because you're going to probably do it at home.
Right.
And, so I love all bread.
Okay, okay.
It can be comforted, it can be rice, it can be hybrid, it can be gluten-free or not. I mean, it's all of it.
Okay. Well, and I don't know if y'all heard Jeanette, but one of the things that I loved about what she said, and we talked about this last month when I was here, is how can we control what goes in our bodies? I guess that there's a message today that's the most important thing. In my mind, you guys, you'll never have to buy anything that has gluten in it ever again. Because the banana bread, where did I put the banana bread? The banana bread uses sourdough discard. We can make pizza dough. We can make crackers. We can make pancake mix. You can make pasta noodles. Now that you have, a new weapon in your kitchen, you don't have to go ahead and make something. I don't think you have to make any trips to the grocery store. Really, and we were talking earlier, sourdough bread is not something that is a whip it up kind of thing, okay? And Jeanette, you said you are not a baker. I am not a baker either. So my daughter is a baker. She loves to measure and she loves to bake. I love to say, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Bingo, we're good. Unfortunately, that's not sourdough, but some really good tips. So help me with why you were excited to be here today.
Well, I actually just saw it on Facebook last night and then didn't know how to register, but yeah, I've been buying it down Brownwood
Right.
on Saturday, and I like it.
Okay,
And I like the minimal ingredients.
perfect. Rita?
Okay, so I've eaten sourdough all my life. I'm from California,
Mm-hmm.
an hour and a half from San Francisco, so sourdough all my life. But the glycemic, because I'm diabetic, because of the glycemic levels.
Okay, great.
And
We're
I
gonna
do
talk
love
about
bread,
that.
so I eat sourdough. I don't make it. My son's making it now, but I never make it. So.
Okay, good, good. Hi.
I like sourdough bread, but I thought it had a lot more ingredients in this. My husband used to make it, but I swear he had more ingredients in this.
Okay.
So I'm
Well,
just interested.
I have found there's different varieties of what people call sourdough. Like some people in the South use, because I teach in Mississippi as well, a lot of in Texas, they use potato flakes, potatoes, and sugar. Well, once we put that sugar in there, we're no longer a sourdough bread. We might be a good homemade bread, but we're not a sourdough bread. So, do you have all your supplies? Okay, then you're gonna sit right here. Okay, and help me with why you're here today.
The gluten-free, I just have an interest
Yeah, in learning.
in learning.
Okay. And you don't have any instructions yet. How about Mary? What has intrigued you?
Well, I've heard for years that sourdough bread is the best bread for you to eat. I am also from California, about 2 hours from San Francisco. And my son absolutely loves sourdough bread, and he orders it from San Francisco.
Mm.
And it's expensive to get here.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So I decided, well, if I can make it for him, then that'll be better.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
brought some back. I was just there a couple weeks ago, so I just brought some back from the.
Where are you
bakery.
from?
Sacramento. area.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm from Reading.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you just sat down, but what has you excited to learn about sourdough?
Well, I haven't had it for years. It's very hard to find. And like Mary, I heard it's absolutely the best thing you can eat.
Yeah.
And I remember making Thanksgiving dressing out of it. And like it's horrible. I have like the best recipe for, dressing. No one's ever eaten anything like it.
Well, here's the thing, and help me with what your name is. Sheila. So we can have an influence of how sour we make it. All right. Now I will tell you, the more sour it is, the more fermentation, the better it is for our gut. But if you have a household where sourdough bread is like this, well, that's okay because you can control how long you ferment it, and then the less time we ferment it, the less sour it's going to be. But again, remember, we're getting rid of some of those gut. You're still going to have benefits, but we're lessening those benefits. So the more sour it is, the more fermented it is. Think of things like kefir or sauerkraut or kimchi. We want to eat those things because they are fermented. All right. So let's get into some definitions, and then we're going to start our dough. Okay. So the first thing on your sheet, we're going to skip mother, because that confuses too many people, so I've just decided to skip that one for classes from now on. So, do you all notice that you have 2 cups in front of you?
Yes.
Okay? So, do you think there's a difference in those cups?
Yes.
Carol, if you want to,
Just the mount.
or just kind of sideways, but you can show the camera the difference.
This is stronger. Close your eyes.
Okay, so do you see one that has little air bubbles in it?
Yeah.
Okay, and it has a number 1 on your cup. So that's the one we're gonna use first. I got up at 4 a.m. to do this for y'all.
Wow.
Because I like to have it it's called fed. They're both fed, but I fed the number one at 4 a.m. and I fed the other one for you to take home at 8:30 this morning. I wanted you to see there's a difference, okay? So that's your starter or your start. Feeding is what I just talked about. And I don't know if you all have pens, but it says in there when you feed a start or a mother, a typical feeding is a 1/4 cup bread flour and 2 tablespoons of water stirred into a 1/4 cup of starch. And if you're measuring grams, I want you to know it's 25 grams of everything. I'm going to add that in. Yeah, so you're going to add 25 grams is what you're going to add.
Everything is 25.
Right.
A
And-
1/4 cup.
Correct, yes. And so we know that water weighs more, which is why it's not a quarter, and a quarter. If we were to add a 1/4 cup of water, it would be way too much hydration. So,
Where does this come from?
Well,
Like,
this one,
why is
this
it so
pencil, like, she's got it right there.
it is as simple as flour and water. Y'all remember when you had little kids and you made paper mache balloons for school projects? That's basically what this is. But it's been around a while. So the lady that gave me the starter, she said it's only over 200 years old. I said it's only 100 years old. It's just because I really don't know. But who was I talking to about? Was it you about the San Francisco or the San Francisco sourdough?
It's
So you can buy their starter.
1840s.
You can go online and you can buy their starter. But we have people that have actually, put it under a microscope after they brought it home. After they fed it 4 to 5 times, it no longer was the California San Francisco sourdough starter. And that's why you have 2 in front of you, because you're gonna take one home, and your house is different than my house. I might keep my temperature higher or lower. I don't have dogs, you might have dogs or cats. You may have grandchildren that you're so fortunate they get to visit you once a week. So we all have different, what we call wild yeast, which is on here next. Well, it's actually at the bottom, but I'm gonna talk about it next. So wild yeast is everywhere, and that's what makes the bread rise. People say, well, you gotta have yeast. No, we have wild yeast everywhere. There's wild yeast in our flour. There's wild yeast in our air. There's wild yeast in the water. So that's what makes these little bubbles that you're seeing in your number 1 cup, and that's what makes our bread work for sourdough, is that wild yeast, okay? We talked about add-ins. Somebody talked about the cinnamon and raisin sourdough. So we can absolutely add add-ins. So this whole folder I have over here, whenever I see a recipe of something I want to make, I just throw it in here. I mean, there's biscuits in here, my banana bread recipe's in here. Every time I see a recipe that I might want to make, I just throw it in here, and that way I have it. And yes, I'm older, I print it off. My daughter never prints off anything. She puts it all on Pinterest, and that frustrates the heck out of me. So I print it off so I know exactly where it is. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so this never goes in the refrigerator?
We're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we're not there yet. But good question, great question, okay? Not necessarily, so we'll get there too. So don't lose those questions if I don't answer, okay? I just don't want to get so far ahead that it confuses us, okay? And discard. So when, I'm going to actually save discard for later, because if we were at my house, because I do a lot of these in my house, I would open the refrigerator door and I have 2 jars of sourdough discard in my refrigerator. So that's my backup, and that's what I make the banana bread out of, the noodles, the pizza dough. That's all made out of discard. And basically all that means is it's not been fed lately. So I think I brought, I'm pretty sure I brought one. Do y'all see a mason jar somewhere? Oh, here it is. So I did feed this yesterday, so she still does have some bubbles, but you see, you can pass it around. You see how thin it is and liquidy it is? It's just, she's hungry. You know, if we didn't eat for 24 hours, we would be hungry too. So when it's thinner like that, it's because it's hungry, okay? But you see how different it is? The consistency is so different, all right? Go ahead.
What is the heritage? Is this from the Amish?
This, well, again, the lady that gave me the starter came from England. Like, you know, sourdough bread is thousands of years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's centuries.
Well, but
Yeah.
not necessarily when this was created.
Yeah.
Like today they do, but you know, it's just like America. America now eats sugar by the gallons, but did they, you know,
It was-
100 years ago?
It was actually around in the old Egyptian days.
Yeah,
Because
that's
there was
what I
no
say.
yeast, they didn't have activated yeast that they bought
Right.
at the store. It was made, so it's thousands of years old actually.
And
then
so why
it's
do you
changed.
think we created activated yeast? Why do you think that was created?
Easier,
And faster.
faster, yeah.
You know, we're now a society that we want things right now, so yeast speeds up that whole process. So if we kind of go back to, again, just like I said last month, because I think you were here, go back to the way things used to be. It's not necessarily a bad thing,
Right.
okay? All right, so any questions on what a starter is, wild yeast, because that's a real important one, because you want to know what that is. And then, so one of the biggest things I see that people add in is jalapenos and cheddar cheese. That's a really good one. I've only made it one time. But again, we do lose a teeny bit of our, you know, health benefits when we start doing
The
those
cheddar
kind of
cheese
add-ins.
part, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so are you ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay, so what y'all are gonna do is you're gonna take your number 1 cup, because she's risen now almost 6 hours. So take that number 1 cup and you're gonna put it in your big bowl. Now, I like to use glass bowls. It's just a personal preference, it's not a right or wrong. There are sometimes I've made 8 bowls at a time. I've made 8 loaves of bread at a time, and I don't have 8 glass bowls, so I'll use plastic and I'll use metal. So, do you need a spatula or something?
Well, I don't have any flour.
Oh, I did not bring 4 cups. Okay.
I brought some. It's okay.
I brought a little bit of extra, but I didn't bring 4 cups extra. No, I mean, everybody's that way. And actually, you can put this, well, you can put it over to the side. I do have plastic ones on the table. You don't need that, you can put that in your bag.
Oh, when we get the flour, can they sift it?
You don't need to.
If they don't like it, how do
Well, you can do whatever you want to, but you don't need to. I don't think it'll wreck it. I've never done it, but I don't think it'll wreck
they?
it.
My mother always made me sift it.
Are you a baker?
She's watching.
Are you a baker?
I used to have to
Yeah,
make dinner.
I could tell that.
At 7 years old, I was making dinner.
What's that?
How long did that take?
I made it at 4:30 this morning. So yeah, it's about, usually, and that's a really good point to bring up. Weather makes a big difference with our starter. How fast it rises, how much it eats up. When it's gonna be August and it's 85 and it's 90% humidity, she's gonna go lickety-split. When it's been cold like it has, it's been on my counter for 6 to 8 hours and it takes a while. So humidity, temperature, all those things make a little bit of difference. And you're gonna see, you know, what happens in your house, okay? So I have, one of the things that we found, I'm gonna sneak right in here, ladies, is what do you measure with this kind of measuring cup? I heard it. Dry ingredients. A lot of people don't know there's a difference. So what do we measure with this kind of a cup? Liquid ingredients, right. So what you're gonna do now, everybody has their starter in the bowl, okay? You're gonna take your water, and you're gonna measure 1.5 cups, And like your instructions said, this will be 325 grams if you were measuring, but you can go ahead and use this one. Cup and a half, yep. And once you're done, you can pass it on and share it.
Someone who makes sourdough on a regular basis told me that you should use pure butter.
That's exactly where I was going next. Water makes a difference, and we're gonna talk about flour makes a difference too. We don't wanna use, water that has been chemically treated, because that'll make a difference in how that wild yeast works,
So
because
my purified water from home, from our whole house, water filter is not a good thing to use.
no, that's what I use. I use filtered water, especially our water here. We can't have the best water here.
No.
So, and I'll be honest, and you can experiment. So not only is we have a whole house filter and we have reverse osmosis. So I actually use the reverse osmosis. But that's something you can experiment with, And I really encourage you to experiment at your house. So go ahead and pour it in after you have your cup and a half.
So it's better to use like Silver Hills.
Yep, you can use that.
Have the same thing.
And so when I'm at home, you guys, what I do is I will take my pitcher and like if I know tomorrow I'm gonna make bread, I'll take my pitcher, I'll get my water in there. I like it to be room temperature. One thing I didn't say yet. Okay, everything I tell you, you can go online and find something that shows it's not true and the opposite is true, okay? So, and that's why I really encourage you to experiment. So I was gonna say, I like to have my water room temperature. I like to let it sit out, let it get more yeast in it, wild yeast in it. None of that's a hard or fast rule. Have there been times that I just go to the faucet and pour it in and make bread? Absolutely. But I prefer to have it room temperature, let it sit out overnight, and just get a little more goodies in it. So absolutely. But you don't want to use chemicalized, like in Michigan where I live, they treated their water with fluoride. You don't want to use that for your sourdough, for sure.
I have a filtering system.
Yeah.
So is this the normal process? You would make it in the morning and then start making it?
I might start it in the evening. So, yeah, I might, so actually this one that I showed you, we went to the Strawberry Festival yesterday. I did feed it before we left. We got home about 8 o'clock at night. I did my tuck and pulls, put it all together, tuck and pulls, and then put a shower cap on her and let her sit on the counter all night. That's not normally what I do, but I wanted to be able to have a look to show you what I do with her. I just think it's a little better with a visual of what I do in Carl. I might have to move for that. You tell me where, but I might need a different table. Okay, so now we're going to add our flour. Does everybody have 4 cups measured out, or does anybody need a measuring cup?
Is this too smooth? It's not.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Nope, no.
This is a thing.
Yep.
I can go up with salt.
I got salt. I got your back on the salt.
What if you don't put salt in?
You don't have to. It's up to you.
I just want to look into it together.
Nope.
Flour.
Yep.
And now,
It is.
Yep.
Start.
So it looks like before you put the flour in, like it.
Mother flour. So you only use.
I'm sorry, Mary. What did you say?
Put the flour in all at one time.
Yes.
I use that to scoop out my cup. My spoon didn't fit too well.
Where did I put my roll of paper towel? Oh, here.
So I see you're using sea salt. That's the only salt you use.
That's what I prefer. Again, if you don't have sea salt at home. I've not read this anywhere, but in my mind, I think iodized salt. I don't know if I want to use that, but you could certainly, if that's what you have at home, that's what you could use.
And maybe you'll answer this later, but I'll go ahead and ask. So
Yeah.
I've heard, and I don't know because I have not researched it, because of the air in places like near the ocean, that the yeast is different compared to whatever's in this room.
It's different everywhere.
So, and that's supposed to be what makes it better, though, is the, like, whether you're in Seattle or
Well, and there's way more humidity anywhere by the water.
Right.
You know, so that's gonna make a, who wants salt in their flour? Or in their bread? So we use I don't ever measure, it's 10 grams, but 10 grams is equal to a half of a tablespoon, okay?
And 1.5 teaspoons.
One and a half teaspoons is a half a tablespoon.
Yep.
So both are correct. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
No salt here, I don't think. You're welcome.
So I could actually make it without salt.
Yes, did you?
Well, I'm on low sodium, but I will try it with the salt.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little bit.
Okay.
So the salt's actually for more like preservative, right?
Will
I mean,
be a
that's
little
why
bit of
you-
flavor, I think, but yes.
Because it lasts longer, nothing else.
That's true.
So if you wanna know what I did a half of a half.
That's what I would do.
Forever, as long as you're either feeding her or you put her in the refrigerator. This.
The mother.
She asked about the starter.
The mother.
Why don't you keep eating?
You can get bacteria. It's gonna be shaggy, okay? We don't necessarily wanna stir until she's together. So it's gonna be shaggy. And, okay, so as soon as you got her, go ahead and put your shower cap on. Now, you'll find a lot of, I think you're good. Yeah.
So it's great.
You can, yeah. And then you have a paper towel and you can dip it in your water because this is your bowl for water, so you can dip it in. A lot of people will use a tea towel on top. And again, it's going to be personal preference to see what you like.
nail?
I like the shower cap better. So you do what you like, but I have found that I like the shower cap a lot better. I buy a whole thing of them. Yeah, you have it. Because what you're gonna do with the other one, because I want you really to have two at home, is you'll put this one over your starter, you know, that doesn't have a number on it, because she's not formulated yet. And I'm gonna keep a cup and what is her name? If you wanna take some starter home, Martha, I'll put some in a cup for you. Okay, don't let me forget, I'm just gonna keep your cup. Okay, hey Siri, set a timer for 25 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit but you want some air in there. So if you could even leave her, you know, because again, you just wanna keep feeding her all that good, yummy, you know, wild yeast. So you can just, you know, partially put her on. When I do this on the counter, that's exactly, because it really doesn't, you know, with this mason jar, it really doesn't go tight, so I'll just put her like that, you know, or tense her a little bit. And again, please experiment and do what you like.
I had only this when I moved. I must have lost my link up, so I miscalculated. I think I had too much flour.
Okay, so this is a great demonstration. No, it's great. Oops, sorry. It's great of what to do because I don't like to add water too soon because she is going to change drastically in 30 minutes, in another 30 minutes, in another 30 minutes. So we're just going to cover her and we're going to see what she looks like in 30 minutes. And then
Don't keep stirring it because
No.
it makes it tough, right?
exactly, we're just gonna let her go do her thing. We might add some, let's put it right here and here. We might add some water, but I really, most of the time you find you don't have to add more water, okay? And you're just gonna be amazed, and that's why it's okay that she's shaggy initially, because you're gonna be amazed. Because now is when the pac-men are doing their job. So again, the reason it,
Even though it's a mess, I can eat like this.
Yeah, we're just gonna leave it like that. We might change it next time, but we're just gonna leave it like that for right now.
Now, do you ever use whole wheat? And then
Do I ever use
whole wheat?
whole wheat flour? I have not. I have used rye flour to make rye sourdough, but I have not used whole wheat. And part of the reason why, I don't know if any of you are Costco shoppers, but Costco has these organic unbleached flour, because we always want to use unbleached flour. And one of the groups that I'm in contacted the maker. Right, exactly. Is that this is actually bread flour, even though it's not marketed as bread flour. And the way you can tell that it's bread flour is it has a higher protein content. That's what makes the difference between all-purpose and bread flour. So you get 2 of these. I got two this week, 2 for $18.99. So you get 20 pounds.
And that has more.
It does. The most traditional all-purpose flours. So like when I originally started, I used King Arthur organic bread flour, but it's expensive.
Well, Teresa just wasn't that much this way.
Yeah, but it's not close.
No,
you know.
it's an hour away.
Yeah, right. So where did you find yours that wasn't expensive?
It was organic. It was
Oh,
King
okay.
Arthur, and it was at
Okay, yeah. You're right, 100%. A little bit difference in price, but it's organic, so.
I would have bought it organic.
Right, exactly. And so that's why I like this from Costco
No,
is,
that'll be my next.
you know, it's I think a reasonable price. But if I'm baking, you know, like that day that I made loaves, I can go through 10 pounds in one day. You know, most people probably don't go through that much. But you guys, I don't know if you're like me. So I don't know if you've ever looked at your love language. My love language is gifts. Like you saw my friends Sally and Dan that were here. I can't tell you how many loaves of bread I've given them because, like, what's a better gift than giving somebody a loaf of bread? You know. So. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of chocolate every now and then, but we never ate bread, bless you. We never ate bread until sourdough. But I will never buy any other bread in the store. And so here's the thing, you know, my son's doing it in New York, our daughter does it in Texas. So what she does, she makes a loaf bread, so it's a little bit different. And that's why I say, you know, always be looking for new things. So this is the one she makes. And so it's got bubbly starter, so actively fed starter. This one actually has warm filtered water, so not only is it room temperature, they actually warm it up a little bit. It does have raw honey in it because she has little kids, but that's what she makes their lunches out of now is this one, so it's not quite as sour. 7 to 8. I'll let you take a picture of this. 7 to 8 cups of flour, and it does make 2 loaves. 2 tablespoons of olive oil and Himalayan salt. So again, and then you make it in a loaf pan. So we've made this version too. I mean, you guys, I'm not joking. The possibilities are endless. You just have to be willing to look for them and see what they are.
You know how when you eat a bagel, they say it's equivalent to 5 pieces of bread? It's very dense, it's very heavy. Is this going to be heavy?
No. Now, I'm going to say no, but you might make a loaf that is a little wonky.
Because I put too much
Yeah.
flour.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah. And you can make bagels out of your starter. She's made bagels.
I don't eat bagels.
Yeah. But it's kind of a way, who was it you? Who asked me, said they're by themselves, and I don't want them. So maybe you make bagels instead of bread, you know, so you could use your you know, and do it that way. All right, so let's talk about health benefits during this time period. And if you were here last month, you might have heard me talk about some of these last month when I was here. So it might be a little redundant, but that's okay. We can keep it in our heads. So what % of our immune system starts in our gut?
Yes.
What did Mary say?
100.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny, people don't get it, but, you know, it really does. Traditionally, excuse me, traditionally people will say 70% starts in our gut. But really, when we know, this is my next question, is about serotonin. But even when we look at our moods and everything else like that, it's all affected by our gut. Even the aging process, you guys, is affected by what's in our guts. And so that's my next question. It's about serotonin. You know, where traditionally do we think serotonin comes from? Our brains, right? Whenever you've heard people talk about serotonin, they always think it's something made in our brains, but it's not. What percentage of our serotonin do you think is made in our gut? It's 90% is the answer that I have, but you're right. And so you think about it. So how many times have you gone out and maybe you've eaten a little more than you usually do, or maybe you have a dessert because with friends, or maybe it's a birthday, so you have a dessert, and then you're not in a very good mood, you're really kind of sluggish, or grumpy. Exactly right. So our bodies talk to us. We just don't really hear them sometimes. Would y'all agree on that? Is that we think, oh my gosh, you know I ate something, but we don't think, well, now my body's working twice as hard to digest what I just ate, and it doesn't obviously like what I just ate because it's talking to me, and now I'm really tired and I think I need a nap. We don't kind of translate it into that kind of a discussion normally, but now that we're more aware of really how much what we eat, excuse me, affects everything that goes on in our bodies, including our energy and, like I said, our aging. And again, I apologize if some of what I said last time is redundant, but our age is really just a number. I don't ever think it should define us. And which kind of goes back to our attitudes about life is, especially here, you guys, I mean, we live in one of the most active places on the planet for people our age, I think. And to go back to, you know, what got me started in sourdough, because remember when I said I don't like to bake? So when I started this process, I thought, oh my gosh, I am never going to be able to learn this. So in the years between 2020 and 2023, we all know what happened. And one of the things that I do in my business, which is Juice Plus, because I want to figure out how can people get more functional food in their bodies. We weren't able to get together. We do salad and jar parties, we do Mind and Wellness, we do all these different things, but of course you weren't able to do that. So we thought, how can we still talk about being healthy and how to get 30 fruits and vegetables every single day, but we can't go house to house anymore. And so that's when somebody in our company came up with sourdough, and we started doing them online. And so what we do for people who aren't local is, here it is we have dehydrated starter. So you can literally send it all over the country, and then other people can just hydrate it, and we gave them instructions to do that.
And that's through Juice Plus?
Well, if each individual person, if they chose to do that. It wasn't a company-wide thing.
Okay.
It's just some of us got together to do.
Gotcha.
Yes. And so, are you familiar with
Yes.
Juice Plus? For how many years? Maybe more than me.
Maybe 7.
Okay, I'm 7. This is my anniversary month, so 7 years. And so, it's a way that we can still help educate people on what kind of things can we do every single day to get that nutrition in our bodies, and have some fun doing it, learn some new things. And so that's how I got started with this. And then it became a challenge, because my first loaf turned out like Frisbees, okay? And I'm like, okay, so how can all these ladies and men do this, and mine looks like a Frisbee? So it was just a little tweaking. So the recipe that I gave you is not the recipe I started with. I kind of changed it more for what we have here in Florida, what our humidity is like, what our sea level is like, because again, all those things factor into it. So that's why I encourage you to really, experiment and do different things. If you think your loaf doesn't, turn out the way you want it, no worries, experiment and let's try something else. So I would go up 25 grams of flour, or I would go down 25 grams of water, and I would experiment. I took my temperature higher because my oven is not like your oven. So you might find when we get to that point, 485 is a little bit too high. So you can ratchet it down.
What about a toaster? What they can actually.
How high is it? Because will a Dutch oven fit in it?
I don't know.
Okay. I did not bring a Dutch oven.
Yeah, I just stick it like on.
Yeah, I think they go.
No, you gotta have her seal. She's gotta have a cover on it. Now, you can take, those aluminum pans you get at the dollar store, like you do for parties and all that. You can put one in there and one on top, but she's gotta be covered.
Oh, well, I have like old Pyrex with lids, like old things.
Glasses out.
You just gotta make sure she has room to rise because she's half that size when you put her in the oven.
Well, can I do 2 lids out of it?
Yes, you could do that.
Oh, I have.
Mhm.
3. I'll need more.
Does a toaster oven get to 485?
I don't think so.
It wouldn't be big enough, would it?
I wouldn't think it'd be big enough either.
Regular
I'm not saying you can't do it, I just, in my mind, there's not enough
And
room.
a Dutch oven is a really heavy thing, very big, very.
You can use a roaster, excuse me, you can use a roaster, nope, I can't imagine how that would work.
Like a turkey roaster with the lid.
That you could do, an electric turkey roaster, I would think you could use that. I've not tried it, but in my mind, you could try it.
Could you use? I have to get it. I'm just gonna ask.
In this house, I have.
Yes. So, Dutch ovens can be tricky because you can find some that are inexpensive, which I suggest. I mean, they can be over $100.
Yeah, I guess.
And I can't quite figure out why we would need a Dutch oven that costs $100. Walmart has them for like $48, $49.
Does it have to be cast iron or should it? Is that
It could be. So I have one and one. I have one that's cast iron and I have one that's more of the enamel. And there are times that I will bake two at the same time, and so I use them both at the same time. So,
Can you use a bread machine? No.
I don't know the
They don't get
answer.
hot enough, or?
I
I don't know, I don't own one, I'm just asking.
would think, I wouldn't want it to touch the sides because
Okay.
how's it gonna expand?
Right,
If it doesn't have room,
right.
yeah. So, and it would cook it. I'm not saying you can't. I just haven't tried that.
So enamel is fine?
Yes.
versus Cast iron?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I would think that's fine because I've used a bread pan, an actual bread pan, a pampered chef one, they have that, whatever that's called, whatever that is. Ceramic stone, yeah, stoneware, that's exactly. Yes, unless like the recipe that I passed around for the loaf bread, that doesn't have a cover on it, I don't think. So, because that one rises a lot, so for sure. So, great questions, and I just know you're gonna need something with a lid on it, because you're gonna find what I do at the very end, when I go to put it in my pan, on parchment paper, I even will put 4 ice cubes around it to create that steam. So you hurry up, put the lid on, so it gives it a little bit of steam inside. So if you don't have, plus I would think at 485 without a cover, it's gonna get too brown. Nope, you don't cook it out.
Supposedly, if you keep everything under 180, then no nutrients in the food.
it has to be at least 200 degrees cooked when you come out of your oven to be done. So you want it way more than 180.
So what's the lowest you could use?
The lowest I personally use is 450. So speaking of which, I do recommend 485 is hot, 450 is hot. I don't wear any necklaces when I'm doing that because they get hot. Exactly. So, earrings are fine, and I use the big mitts, so my jewelry on my arms is fine. But if you have a necklace on that's metal, it is going to get hot.
That's a good tip, a very
So,
good tip.
I just suggest you take it off. Okay. Great questions, you guys. I know we talked about this last month. What percentage of food is 100 years ago was not in our grocery stores that are there today?
95, I don't know.
Isn't that sad?
We would use less cabinetry in our kitchens.
I've been listening to a book on ultra processed food and so disgusting. I mean, podcasting is good.
Right.
Where we've gone is
Right.
And you're so right, and that's why, it's so important that we get back to where we were, which is why I think Juice Plus personally should be on everybody's counter, because we can't get the nutrition from the food in the grocery stores today. And unless we can grow 100% of our food, or we got cows in the backyard if we need, or chickens or whatever, we just can't feed our bodies the nutrition that it needs. And we don't have to have the diseases. I do have a sheet over there, Dr. Pamela Benitez, it's a Zoom that's coming up, doing everything you can for cancer prevention. It's March 21st, and the Zoom information is on there. Does it mean, am I trying to imply if you eat Juice Plus you'll never get cancer? No. That's the first thing I want to say is we don't ever make medical claims. But I will give you a story that I just heard this week. I could give you many, but I'm going to give you the most recent one. So it's a woman who has been on Juice Plus probably, I'm going to say 5 years, maybe not quite that much, from Michigan, and loves the product, and was recently diagnosed with uterine cancer. And they went in, and the tumor was the size of a Nerf football. And she's a very, very slender woman, works out in the gym. So what stage do you think that tumor might have been? Stage 1. And she says she attributes that 100% to Juice Plus, because she said, if I was not on Juice Plus, I think that would have been a very different story. And even her physicians have said, we can't believe a tumor this size is stage 1. So Juice Plus is fruits and vegetables in a capsule. That's all it is.
This is not to put down Juice Plus. Balance of Nature is also the same. I mean, I've done the comparison.
It's not the same. So we have actually tested the product. They have lead in their product.
Oh, they do. I didn't know that.
So-
That doesn't say that in the research I looked at.
Yeah. Well, if it's from them, they're not going to. Their research is
No,
borrowed.
I just did the comparison thing. Yeah.
So I wouldn't ever tell people anything bad about that product before. I would just say I can tell you why we're different. So we have over 48 published studies that are actually on our products. They have borrowed research. So their research is what is in broccoli.
Okay. I don't
Two
get
different
it.
areas.
But
I know you don't.
I did the. I mean, that.
And I don't
compare
care.
them because once that came out, I didn't.
But once you talk, first of all, they're more expensive than we are.
How can they put that?
Well,
I mean,
because they are a
They
supplement.
use it.
So supplements have no regulation.
Vegetables.
We are a food product. Our labels are a food label, so we have regulations.
Okay.
So that's how any
Okay.
supplement has no
Right.
regulation.
Right.
So that's how they were shut down. I don't know if you saw that at the end of last year. They were shut down for a week and a half
No, I hadn't.
until they came into compliance. So it's, and the only reason I know that is because our labs looked at their product.
And I did know Juice Plus is FDA.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, no worries if you choose not to do Juice Plus. Please just don't do Balance
It's a
Nature.
good product though. It is. A good
When you find out there's things like lead and stuff like that in
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
And so what we do is we just take little bits of fruits and vegetables and berries and we dry them. We take out the sugar so they're safe for diabetics. And we do have a gummy too, but we only have 5 products. Shakes, and right now if you order you get 20 shakes for free. Yeah.
So where's the fiber in these capsules? I always wonder about that when I see stuff like
So that's a great question. Shakes have a lot of fiber, so there is a little bit in the capsules, but here's what we need for that. So, do y'all know the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic? So, what do probiotics have to have in order to work? They have to have a prebiotic. Prebiotics feed probiotics. Fruits and vegetables are 100% prebiotics. So how they contribute to that good health fiber that's in our gut, in our system, is they feed it, which creates more good bacteria. So not only do they have a little bit of their own fiber, but they're actually going to help create more fiber or more good bacteria with the fiber that you are eating every single day. And of course, everything we do is plant-based. For sure, it's our omega that I think makes us really stand apart is when we have an all plant-based omega, which is huge, I think, and we're a synergy of 5 omegas. So we're omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, not just omega 3. So, okay, great questions. But back to our gut bacteria is I have one more question. The other one's actually about omegas. Do we want to, when we think about our cupboard space at home, do we have a huge variety of fruits and vegetables beginning on our refrigerator? Or do we usually have apples, bananas, lettuce, spinach, kind of the same thing?
I have a variety.
We do.
I have kiwi and I have mangoes in mine right now. And I have raspberries. I don't know.
Right.
I try to get a variety.
We do. We want to eat that rainbow
Colorful.
because
Yeah.
those colors make a huge difference of the phytonutrients that are going to go into our bodies. So, the more we can eat the different colors, the purples and blues from the berries, the reds from the berries and the tomatoes. Tomato is a natural, that's why it has lycopene. Lycopene is a natural sun protector. We're all exposed to the sun, so lycopene is a natural sun protector. And things like bananas have a lot of potassium. I mean, we could go through the whole list, but the more colors that we can eat every single day, the better. We talked a little bit about fiber. Fiber is where we're having. Okay, so here's a little bit of. Let's see how our timer's doing. 2 seconds. So we're gonna pause on each food. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our shower caps off, but we're gonna dip our hands in. We put a little bit of water in our bowls. You haven't quite yet. But we're going to dip our fingers in our bowls because that way it doesn't stick as much. And we're rolling in just one hand. Okay, so traditional kneading is, we're in there with 2 hands. We're only going to use 1 hand. And we're going to tug and tuck or stretch and pull. Call it whatever you want. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your dough and you're going to lift it up and put it in the middle. Turn your bowl a quarter ways, take it up. Lift your dough, pull it in. Yep. And turn your, there you go. Turn your bowl. Perfect. Yep. Okay. But remember, the bacteria on your hands is a good thing. It is.
Are we flipping it in or are we just
Yep.
flipping it up?
Right in the middle.
Oh, in the middle, I was doing it on the end.
Either way. I mean, there's no wrong way.
And you do the whole thing?
Just do it one time around.
We're going to do 20 times, 20 to 25 this first time, okay? So, and be gentle with her, she's lovely. It's not like we're kneading. If you make traditional yeast bread, we're not kneading. We're stretching and pulling. We're moving around that lactic acid. We're giving her some more air. But you see how much the consistency has changed already? And that's okay. Just pull her up and then put her back down and turn her over. And if you think it's a little dry, just dip your fingers in your water, Mary, get her a little bit. But she's gonna change. She's gonna continue to change throughout the whole process.
So I did the duty five.
Perfect. Put the cover back on, you're good to go. And then you can dip your hands in your water, and then you all should have some paper towels to dry it off of. Do you have any more flour?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, that was 4
I was
cups.
gonna say.
Is that for my fingers, because I've been dipping them in the water?
Yeah, you really don't need to dip.
Okay.
I think you're gonna be a little wet.
Okay, yeah, it is a little wet.
Oh, you got flour? And I wouldn't do, yep, that's good. Nope, right in the bowl. Yep.
Come on, baby.
You can do it, you can do it. And you put more water. So,
Yeah. Where is your water?
I see that, yeah.
So I see some people using one hand, some two.
I would only use one hand. You don't need to get two hands dirty, quite
Because of
honestly.
the stickiness of it.
I don't want to beat it up too much. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It was very gentle.
It's not like.
And we're gonna do it in here, and then I.
Right,
I
because you
like-
see when people need, you know, they're really in it.
I was gonna stand up.
Look what I did.
Well, that's okay, because you really can't mess this up, you guys. It may not look like the Pinterest version. I just don't want us to get too much, so we're just gonna be really cautious how we add our water. The little bit goes a long ways.
I make bread today. Not today.
I really don't understand where the yeast, I mean, where this started from, but who started it, what do you put in it?
You can make your own if you wanted to. Flour and water, that's it.
She started it this morning. No, this
Flour and water.
That's all that it is,
It's
is
like
flour.
school pages.
It is very much like school paste.
To keep going together.
You know what I would actually do? I would dump that out. I see. Well, no, we're not gonna throw it away. I would just. Really? No.
Does she mix it every day?
I am not one to throw away. Because you'll just put all that up.
Does it matter if it's all up?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just thinking, yeah. Hey, would you babysit? Need someone to babysit my dogs now and my starter. It's a package deal.
So, but that's a great point, Cindy. So when you go on vacation, you throw her in the refrigerator and let her sit.
Oh, okay, good. So we can sit for a little while.
Yeah.
It stops the process. There you go. Is that right? When you stops the process when you.
She will still eat.
I mean, but
But not like when she's on your counter.
so it won't be if you're gone for a week. It doesn't blow up your refrigerator.
Would you allow me to put it?
Yeah.
I forget what movie that was. Years ago, from the 70s.
I gotta rotate this thing.
I'm gonna name
I think the gators in the pond.
I don't want to have so much water that it ends up too wet. Well, it just doesn't, she doesn't rise real good.
So do we need this other water, or can I use it to rinse my hands? Are we gonna need the rest of that water?
No,
Okay.
not for your dough.
Good thing that was.
But I would have taken that
I'm
one.
just kidding.
Okay, we have a question while you're thinking.
Okay?
It says this part of the starter has not been fed in the last 12 hours. So if it's in the refrigerator, we go on.
So which page are you on?
right here.
This part,
That's what discard is.
that's what you could use for other things.
Right.
It's part of this part, but you use it for other
Pizza
things.
dough, I have pizza dough.
pizza dough, bagel.
It's part of something else. But it's just not good for the bread part.
Oh, I have to write another time.
So when I make the banana bread or you make your pasta noodles, that's what you'll use discard for.
Okay.
But you're right, that, can you see how it's changing? We're gonna put the cover on and let her set. We can always add more water, but we can't take it out. So let's let her sit for another, hey Siri, set the timer for 20 minutes. What's our
And
time?
let it breathe a little bit on
Mary-
the side again, right?
Mary, what time do we have to be out of this room?
12 o'clock.
Oh, okay, good. I thought it was 11:30. I was
Well,
starting to sweat.
Cindy, have to be.
Come up here on TV.
Sure.
So feeding it, I see what you do to it, but how often?
We're gonna talk about that when we get to the back sheet, okay? Because I'm gonna send you home, you're gonna have homework to do, and that's what you're gonna do when you go home. And I just don't want to get, I just don't want us to get confused. But how about we cut a little bit of slice? And this is a great time to ask questions. So, I'll show you some tools too during this resting period, because that was our first stretch and pull. So I have found an offset bread knife works the best. And, you know, it's probably just personal preference. I mean, I have beautiful Cutco knives at home, and she's straight, and I can do so much better with this, all right? So y'all see this little part right here?
Yes.
So in sourdough, and one of the things that still makes me nervous, I can't tell you guys how many loaves of bread I've made. It still makes me nervous giving a loaf of bread away because I never know what the inside looks like, you know? And
It's gonna be gorgeous.
are you gonna have a problem if I use my hands to touch the bread? Anybody gonna have a problem if I use my hand? Okay. I would put a glove on.
What was the knife called again?
It's called Offset. So this one came from King Arthur. She was $50. I have found some on Amazon that are in the 20s, high 20s. It starts with a M. I can't remember what it is. It's black. I got a black handle. I got both my kids for Christmas, and it works just as good. So again, trying to find ways to make everything more affordable. So if I were to buy another one or give it as a gift, I would buy the one from Amazon. I did, this is just another little thing. The one from Amazon, you can buy a guard for it. My daughter has young kids. You know, my son doesn't have babies yet, but hopefully, Lord, please help him, he will. So, you know, because it is really sharp, that black one is, I did buy the guard to go with that for them. Okay, so this is my box isn't, yeah. Oh, but she looks beautiful, right?
Oh,
So
she
you
sure
see this
does.
little part here, they call that the ear because,
Have you ever made it so it's mushy inside?
mushy.
You know, like not baked sufficiently?
No, because when I first started, now that I have my system down, but when I first started, and I have one with me, I took her temperature every time. So I made sure it was 200 degrees inside. But so you see this little part right here? It's called the ear because it looks like a bunny ear, right? You know? And so that's called the ear. And when you do score them, because you do have to score it, I forgot my cutting board. And you do have to score it when you put it in the oven. And I'm going to show you some scoring tools.
That knife did a really good job with skinny bread. I had a
Yes.
hard time getting skinny bread.
And so that's one of the reasons I like it is even though sourdough bread has a lot of health benefits, that doesn't mean we get to eat the whole loaf in a day. Okay, I just want to put that out there. And I'm so sorry to burst your bubble. But like if you have that much in a day, that's good. But you don't need to eat the whole loaf. I'm not saying we don't want to eat the whole loaf. But I'm just saying.
Don't buy the cinnamon raisin then.
Can you freeze it?
Absolutely, you can freeze it.
For how long?
Ours doesn't last that long. I mean, not that it doesn't last that long, we eat it up. I don't know, I probably had it in the freezer 3 weeks, maybe. And what you can do, so let's say you have a loaf in the freezer, and you have company come over, and you say, oh shoot, I would love to have soup and bread for dinner. Take it out of the freezer, let her warm up as much as she can on the counter, crank the oven up to 400, baptize her. You're going to sprinkle a little bit of water over her to get that top wet. And then maybe 5 minutes in the oven to just kind of warm her up, and you're good to go.
And never a few seconds in the microwave.
I would not do that.
I mean, a slice maybe, but not the loaf.
No.
Yeah.
Now, if you make cinnamon rolls, because I made cinnamon rolls on a discard that are super delicious, those I could warm up, in the microwave. But I probably wouldn't do bread.
I was at Mount Dora one time, and somebody was selling sourdough, like the old country people, I think it was, I don't know. But anyway, but it wasn't completely baked, and I had to bring it home. Is it finished baking yet? They said, well, you can keep it for this long, but bake it within. So, I mean, is that actually good to stop that process?
I don't.
I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had never bought it like that.
It's in.
Huh?
It was supposed to be like that?
Yeah. No, yeah. There was instructions, and it was not all the way baked, and I thought, I never did it like that, but yeah, it was fine. But
It's very intriguing. I would have to research. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm
Right.
just intrigued of how you could do it. You stop the process
right.
and
yeah,
then
that's-
restart it.
Yeah.
So when you go home, and we'll talk about this after our next stretch and pull, but there are some, you will have to, put her to bed, so to speak. And you can do a few different things. These are they're called battens, or they're different little things that you could put her to bed in overnight if you chose to. There's nothing wrong with the glass dishes or the dishes that you have. Those could work. I like this one. I bought this one after these because it goes flat like you saw, so it's a lot easier to store. The thing, what's that? It's a silicone, like a silicone baking dish. You do not bake in here though. Just make sure you. Yep, she's gonna ferment in here. Yeah. I can't remember what I was gonna say, but that's why I like this one. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Your bread will have the lines. So you can tell I'm not a line girl, because the bread will have the lines. So that's the only thing, that's one of the differences. When you make this one, it's great for football things because she kind of comes out in the shape of a football. Great this Christmas time. All my bread tops had Christmas trees on them. They had 3 on one side, 2 on the other. This was great for that because you can have more trees than you could with the round one. But these 2 are the ones that I used most of the time. And again, you could actually make this one have lines. All you do is take the liner off.
And you can buy those.
Yes.
And what are they called?
Battens. The ATO, and it's a French word. And so I was going to put that bread in here and pass it.
So you rise in the, is that what you do?
But it can stay in this bowl.
Yes.
Okay.
So I put these in. I don't know if I have enough cut. We'll see. We'll cut more if we don't. I didn't count it. So we will talk about that, but that's for when it's in the I actually put them in the refrigerator overnight, and that's when it's going to get really fermented. That's when our fermentation happens, and so that's when you put her in that, when you change what it's in.
And you cover her?
Yes. Yep. She's going to wear her shower cap from now on.
How long did you say to reheat at 400? If you freeze it, let it sit on the counter?
5 or 10 minutes. Just enough to kind of warm her up, get that little bit of frost off. If she's been in there, like you haven't had any time to defrost her, you might need a little bit more than that. But do we need more? I need some.
Oh, this is amazing.
We got a feed. Wow.
He's worked harder than we have. But, you know, if you guys find that you have girlfriends that you want to do a class with, you know, we can do that. I can do them in my house, I can do them in your house. Or I'm just going to hand it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what do you think?
Really good.
Delicious, very good.
And so now can you see, did you get a big enough piece? Can you see why you would never buy bread again? You know, it's just, there's just, in my mind, there's no reason to ever buy bread again. And whether you turn this into something else, you know, rye bread, I mean, it's really good if you throw some rosemary sprigs in there, some garlic in there, you know, the garlic bread is really good.
Baking it, you mean?
You actually would put that in this process, yeah, in the very beginning, yeah. I think it's a great, you know, especially because she looks like a bunny, a great Easter bread. So,
Is this the only cut you ever make on that ears?
I usually do it that way, so you can see the ears, yeah, because that's how I grade myself. Does she have good ears? And, you know, like this one's gonna have great ears.
And what did you
It's
bake
really
that?
dry in here. Pardon me?
What did you bake these
So that, what did I bake them in? Dutch oven. Yeah. But if you don't have one,
Lid, and it doesn't get too cold.
correct, yeah. So this would be a good point. Let me show you some tools, and then I'm gonna set up over there, with some parchment paper and some flour, and we'll talk about the things that you're gonna do when you go home after your next stretch and pull, okay? So again, this is the bowl I got at the dollar store. So if someone, you know, wanted to say, I want to do this, but I don't have a big bowl, well, we can go to the dollar store. This will work. I prefer glass, like I said. I'm just not a huge plastic fan, but I have made it many times in this bowl. Like I said, when I make, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 loaves, I only have like 3 glass bowls that are that size. So I have to do something different. So it absolutely works.
Can you make it in a cast iron pan?
Could you make it in a cast iron pan?
Bake it.
Oh, bake it, sure.
Oh, you can.
As long as it can rise and it has a lid.
You wanted those black ones?
Yeah.
And if you think maybe the pan is not big enough, I've cut it in half and made 2 little loaves. So, okay. So this is called a Danish dough whisk. A lot of people, this is their favorite tool. What's nice about it is when you're mixing everything up, it goes around the edges and gets, you know, everything off the edge, this would. So that's really nice about that.
Danish dough whisk.
Yes,
Where do you get that one?
Amazon. Everything I'm gonna show you came from Amazon.
And that you would use instead of a one hand, stretching it?
No, you're still gonna use your hand to stretch and pull or tug and tuck. This is when you mix it all up.
Oh.
So when you're mixing it, so yeah,
What if I'm mixing the flour?
correct, yeah. So I don't dislike it, or it's not my favorite. I mean, but I know many people that this is their favorite tool, okay? I'm gonna show you my favorite. You wanna pass it around? Sure. So as silly as it sounds, this is probably my favorite thing. Oh, is it? Well, this is from Amazon too. I buy a whole pack of them.
Oh.
It's just a rubber spatula, but I mean, I do almost everything with this. The only thing that it's not good for is I use a different one when I get out of the mason jar because, you know, it's not quite tall enough for that. But it's probably my favorite tool. And if my husband, so I have a little shelf for sourdough supplies, and if I can't find it, it's like, okay, where's my little spatula? It's probably in the drawer. So she goes to a different place. You're gonna see me use this in just a minute, but it's a scraper, which I really like this a lot too. And even if you're not making sourdough, you guys, turn it upside down. This is a great way to clean off your counters, you know?
French shucks.
What's that?
French shucks.
Oh, do they really? You can find them in metal too. Like, for example, when we got home late last night, I wasn't hungry, but David wanted a little something, so we cut up a bunch of onions and had cheese and made nachos. Well, you know, there was onions and cheese all on my counter, but I didn't say anything. I just went and got this, scooped it all up, and cleaned it all up. It's super simple. All right, as I mentioned, here's my thermometer.
And you said 200 is when it's done?
You want it over 200, yes. So, like I said, now I don't do this very often, but when I first started, because I was so paranoid, you know, I wanted to make sure it was done, then I did go ahead and check the temperature.
Is it actually sold as a dough?
No, I think it's actually, it just says good cook. Yeah, it's NSF certified.
Is that when you're waiting for it to do something?
No, it's when you take it out of the oven, when it's done.
Oh.
Yeah,
So like
you
I
check
mentioned,
with your thermometer.
you're gonna have to score. And you wanna score her because you want her to be able to release that steam inside. So you could use a knife. That's what I used when I first started. If you get like a kit, there's a kit that has the baskets and actually has the dough whisk in there, and it comes with a pomade in there as well. Now y'all might be way more smarter or coordinated than me. I could never get this to cut right. I don't know why. But you can pass, it's a razor blade, and it comes with more razor blades.
I was gonna say, can you not just use a paring knife?
You can, but it just doesn't seem to cut quite as good as what these will.
Talking about right here.
Yes.
Scoring.
And like I said, normally I will have a lot of decoration on there. I'll make stars or Valentine's. I
I
put
have
hearts
an old
on
razor
there.
that has them.
Pardon me?
I think I have an old razor that has some extras.
Yes.
Not that I
You
use
gotta
it,
be
but I'm
careful.
sure it's somewhere in my house.
This is just like an exact, you can tell I haven't used this in a while because it's rusted, because I found one that I like
I
even
think I'm gonna
better.
pass it.
But this works too, just be careful. And again, you can find those in Hobby Lobby, anywhere you can find those. But this is what I love. And I just had this recently. And it is under sourdough supplies. And it's just a little, same kind of like that, only it, you know, slides up. I think you got 3 or 6 of them in a package. But I found I had a lot better control more than even those other 2 things. I mean, when you guys, if you Google sourdough scoring, I mean, there are beautiful works of art that people do. I might even have printed some off.
I like
Yeah. Or with a knife.
It is like a utility knife.
For some reason, it just doesn't do its thing.
Yeah, I think that would end up working out better.
It's probably not allowed on the airplane. I'm just saying, not allowed on the airplane.
Check it in the bag.
Check it in your bag.
But you know what, you guys, that's a really good point. I don't know why my voice is so raspy today. I have taken sourdough as a carry-on, sourdough starter as a carry-on, under 3 ounces. Excuse me. And then I've had a whole bowl full of it packed in my suitcase. Because I remember when I go to different places, I teach these classes. Well, I gotta have my starter with me, right?
But that's not even a liquid. I'm surprised it could be here. But they say it's better to see something light in there.
Yeah.
Here, you can take those and start to pass them
It's like
around.
a toothpick, you know what I mean?
That I have.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, fancy.
Oh, look at that, isn't that beautiful?
I mean, and those are really quite honestly basic.
I'd be happy if
I
it
know.
looked like that. Just the basic plain slice.
Yes.
That is
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
You can take, I'm gonna put this one over here, Carl, and you can take the cover off.
You need another tablecloth?
That's
That or I was gonna do parchment paper. If we have a tablecloth, that would be great.
I think it's high, oh, you do, you tie
That one, yeah. But, and she tends to use that.
some kind of string around it, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how you get your,
Okay. And bake it that way?
Like you would already.
oh, is that what it is? Is that, it's tied in?
Tied. So is this one. Right.
Like a
I just
And then
thought
I'm
maybe
gonna
it
put
was a
parchment paper on
cut
too, Mary, because I'm gonna put my flour
I think this is a
right on there.
Because it goes, it's kind of twisted.
Oh, I do see
And
that,
round
yeah.
it. This is tied also.
Well, I've got a whole bunch of
Straight.
I'm not sure to heat at high temperature, and maybe it has to be you have to be careful what.
Okay, so there's our timer. We're gonna take our shower cap off and we're gonna stretch and pull. We only have to do it 4 times this time.
4 times around or just 4 times?
4 times. So 1 time around, 4 times. So, do you see now what I meant when I said let's not add water? Because she's gonna change. Do we need to add a little bit more flour? No, that's not bad. Because you're gonna see what I do over here. You might be able to add a little bit more, but you do have an opportunity to add some
Yeah,
more.
well, you just,
Do I want to? With that?
just the total of 4 times.
Do you mind if I put a glove on and touch
I
it?
don't think you lifted it 4 times.
You have to lift it 4 times. Yep.
Yeah.
But mine is on right up.
Well, I think yours is, 1 step behind, because it's got a.
No.
It's crusty.
I don't want my ring back there. That's what I'm gonna do. So they're leaving.
I'm gonna work on yours just a second. Because you see this right here? We just have to work that in. And just like Cindy said, yours is a step behind, so we're gonna do yours 20 times.
This kind of stuff brings me.
And just pick it up and fold it over.
Get back here pretty.
Yep, and then fold her over. See, we just gotta
But
work
it's probably good back.
gently, work it in.
Probably not bad back.
I do want to show, it's really hard. Okay, and just give her a little wiggle and bring her in. And give her a little wiggle and bring her in.
And then that's good.
All right, and she's
So,
gonna,
I mean,
she's gonna do her.
I mean, you don't need it, but I mean, it's good mold. It's not
No,
bad like on the
that's
cheese.
3.
Well,
Okay.
cheese is different though,
So,
bread.
and just give her a little wiggle
Yeah.
and bring it back over.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not turning the bowl, I'm turning the dough. Do you see how even just in those 3 or 4 times,
Because bread mold
she's
is what,
changing?
what do you think cheese
Okay.
is? Well, bread
So
mold is
that was
what
5. So I'm gonna have you do it probably 2 more times. Yep.
I just pulled the mold off if it happens to.
Nope, it looks
Maybe
good.
you don't have to, because
Although the rule for that
that's
is
true,
it's
that's keeping
soft,
the moisture.
like cheese, like a permeated.
And Jeanette, what you could do too is, you could do a double. So you could put your little shower cap over her. Oh, okay. I have another
Here,
one.
here's another one.
No, you're gonna take that home.
Taking that home with you.
Yeah, so you could even do a double.
I did that.
Yeah, she's just a little bit.
I thought maybe.
It's just, I don't think she's not gonna rise good.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
so-
need more flour? I didn't bring
Yeah, she's got, no, she's.
Oh, we're good. We're good. You have a spoon?
Let me get my measuring cup. And again, not a whole lot, though, just a little bit.
I didn't know where you were. Oh, you're right. It's not much like a tablespoon.
Yeah. And we'll see what she does, okay? Because this is the last time we're gonna do it here. You're gonna take her home and do that one more time, okay?
Once around the block.
Yep, one more time around the pool, okay? We're gonna get to that point, okay?
I have a
And-
question.
Okay.
If I put fresh rosemary in here, because you don't want to eat too much of that, I get it, it makes you sick. So, like, how many, like, you take the stem off and
Yes.
Put a few, like how many
Of the little,
milligrams?
whatever you like. So
What
that
do you think? 'Cause it's strong.
I would probably use one full twig.
I'll just put the whole twig in there.
Well, no, take it off, like you said.
Strip it.
Yeah, strip it off. This is stripping.
So like that long maybe?
Oh, well, I would probably do a little bit more than that, but yeah. And
Would you add the rosemary at this point, or would you add it when it was?
you're gonna add
just
it,
going in?
you could add it either one. Like when I make it with garlic, I put it in the initial part. When you do the cheddar and jalapenos, you add it initially. Rosemary's a little, and you can see it too, how it's gonna do. Is once you get her going, you really don't want to disturb her much, so anything you add in, I would do it initially. Yes, yeah. You know, it's just like, think of it, you know, if you remember when you have little kids, or if you've been around little kids and you just get in bed and you're just getting a real good, or in the chair, you're gonna take a nice, really good nap, and you got somebody shaking your shoulder. I mean, kind of think of it that way, of, you know, we just wanna let her sit, let her do her thing, and go from there. Okay, so, somewhere my quarter cup must be somewhere.
It's over here. The red one?
Oh, the red one,
And-
yeah. There it is. Yeah, here it is.
Where's my,
It's over here.
where's my spatula?
Oh, I don't know where
My
that is.
little spatula.
It's on that table over there.
Oh.
I didn't take a picture of
Oh, so I will tell you this too. So when I measure everything at home, thank you so much. It's all about ease and simplicity. Because again, you can feed her every day in less than 5 minutes. Okay? So we'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to tell you the tools I use. So I use a plastic cup. This is what I use every day when I measure my 25 grams or my 325 grams. I use this every day. I use a paper plate to put, I use a little one if I'm measuring 25 grams. I use a bigger one if I'm measuring, you know, the 475 grams. Because, you know, you're gonna zero it out and measure, but it just makes it super simple. And then, what I love about the paper plate is you fold her and she's a cone, or a funnel, whatever you wanna call it, but it puts it, whether it's in that little thing, or a mason jar, or whatever you're gonna put her in, it makes it super simple, and then you stir her up, and then you go from there. So again, little things I've learned to make it really, really easy. And literally, if you have your water out, your flour out, you got your starter on the counter, you can go 25, 25, 25, zip, 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 you're done. I mean, so we are gonna, and just think of it this way, you guys. So if your starter, Cindy, can I use yours? Please. Because you have glass dishes, so I'm actually gonna put you to work, and you're gonna be my Vanna, okay? And I'm gonna give you the quarter measuring cup. So if your starter is on the counter, this is what you will do every single day, okay? All right, so if you would take 25, or it would be 25 grams, but it's gonna be a quarter cup, okay? So take a quarter cup out.
Of this?
Yep, and we're gonna put it right in one of your glass dishes, because this is what you all are gonna do, sort of, when you get home. What you're all gonna do is take her out when you get home and put her in a glass jar. That's all you have to do today.
Just a quarter cup.
No, today when you go home, because she's already been fed, all right, so yours is gonna get fed twice, but there's nothing wrong with that.
She's hungry.
And I'm gonna, I decided this morning, actually, I'm gonna change this so that y'all can do it from day one. Because this is fed starter,
Mine's exactly.
so,
Both of them are already fed.
yes,
We can combine them.
you could, absolutely you could. One was fed at 4:30, one was fed at 8:30, so absolutely, you certainly could. Or you can give one away, you know, or you can start 2 jars.
Okay, so now it goes in here?
Yep, so this is what you're all gonna do when you get home. You don't have to measure it. This is only when you're feeding it. If you decide you wanna go ahead and feed her today, go right ahead, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is what we're doing every day to feed it. So we're gonna measure out a quarter cup or, and this is on the back of your sheet, in the pink, I believe it is. You're gonna measure out a quarter cup of starter. Now, let's pretend there was more in here, because once she rises fully, there probably will be. Because we're getting her used to your individual homes now, this is the hardest part, you guys. What's in here, you're gonna put right in the trash.
In the trash can.
In the trash can. We're not gonna put it down the sink, because remember, this is glue. Okay, so we're gonna put all this in the trash. We're only gonna do that 4 or 5 days, putting it in the trash, because we want her to get, and you can do it longer, but at least 4 to 5 days, because we wanna get her used to your house. And so now, again, this is tomorrow's homework, but if you wanna do it today just to get the hang of it, you certainly could. So now, I'm gonna give you some flour, and we're gonna add a quarter cup of flour, and we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of water.
Okay, so just take a quarter cup out of here, the rest goes in the dark. The quarter cup goes into the box, okay?
And again, remember, 2 tablespoons of water is the same as 25 grams, but water weighs more, so that's why it's a different measuring vehicle, okay? Still 25 grams, but if we're not using a scale, it's 2 tablespoons. Okay? And then, now we're gonna do a quarter cup of flour. There should be another quarter cup that we don't have starter in. Is there another one somewhere?
No, I gave you that.
Do you want me to just take a paper check to it?
No, I would, if it was me at home, I would actually use this because I wouldn't wanna get it all out. So, let me get
And I
some.
don't have any more flour.
Oh,
Here's
I-
water. I have water.
That's okay, we don't need water, we're gonna go
Oh,
just
you
add
gonna
it
use
to it,
flour?
yep.
Oh, here's my other quarter cup. And again, with flour, we never do this. That's brown sugar. With flour, we don't do that. Where's my? You don't shake it.
Shake the cup.
Oh, shake the flour down because you're happy. Got you, don't pack it, right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Just level her off. Mhm. There you go.
I actually did. Just to get that.
And then now you can go ahead and mix her up.
I don't know, it wasn't bad.
Now, I will say normally when you mix yours up at home, it's gonna be thinner like this. You know, because that one's fed, it's still thick, so that's gonna be really thick. But when she's been unfed for overnight, it's gonna be thinner like this.
Can you over stir it?
Oh, good question.
I mean, you could.
As you're watching me going.
You could, but
It's not like it's gonna flatten it like you would some things. Yeah.
So it's this way because it was already fed once to
right,
death.
right. Now, if you want to do an experiment or a demonstration, and you want to do the same thing in your other jar with this one, 25 or quarter, and 2 tablespoons, you'll see how different it is. So do you feel comfortable passing that around and showing everybody?
Absolutely, I do, of course.
Now, is this too small of a jar because it's gonna raise?
You could get away with it, but it is going to go.
I've got one that's fine.
Okay, so, oh, I need more starter.
Yep, right here.
Okay.
I just don't want, there you go.
From my,
So I'm gonna pour it up.
Yep, and you're just gonna pour her in, because she's gonna be running. 'Cause I haven't fed her since yesterday.
And that way you don't drop it. Yeah. Doesn't slide out. You did the chart.
See how the difference is? Do y'all see that?
Absolutely.
Did your mother used to make this?
No, never. I've only been doing this a year.
Yeah, you're kidding.
Well, I certainly will not claim
Can
that.
I put this in?
Yes, yeah, you can.
What are those? These, I mean, ball jars, I know that, but the specific company.
These are mine, would you?
No, the one that you just passed, the ball jar, but see how it has this, it won't
I
slip
like
out
the
of your
white mouth.
hand.
Yeah.
But,
I'm
That's
not
got
gonna
the
use these. I'm gonna
measurements.
use a wide mouth.
yeah.
That's what I had. So.
Yeah.
Okay. starting a new starter?
Yeah, she's using the other, so she's doing.
We have it all.
I want you to see the difference in what yours is really gonna look like at home, because tomorrow your starter is gonna be unfed when you feed it, and it's gonna look very different than when you use fed
It's
starter.
very liquidy.
There's a very difference in your consistency. Because I don't know if you saw when Cindy poured it out, it's almost runny.
Right.
Okay, because she hasn't had anything to eat overnight.
And then do you put the lid on it, or do you just leave it open?
You're gonna tend her, so you're not gonna put.
The mason jar.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
not gonna put that on it. Now, what you can do with a mason jar, if y'all wanted to, if you didn't wanna use the shower caps, use a coffee filter, and you put the ring over the coffee filter, because that still allows air in there, so you can certainly use that. That works great.
Different consistency.
Yes, huge difference.
Yeah.
Yes, that just seems like you're giving it
Yes. Up in the back, right here in the back.
Yeah, that's true. But-
Okay, so can
You're not gonna die, I didn't think you
So
would
tonight-
want it, I know.
tomorrow we're gonna do this, feed this.
Okay, so when you go home, you're going to put your cup in a plastic cup in a glass jar, or you can do it for you. And again, if you don't have a mason jar, or you don't have a glass jar, no worries, a Pyrex bowl, I've used just about anything. So I just like glass better, and again, that's my preference, but I really encourage, yeah, that would absolutely work, Mary. Okay.
That's fine, thanks.
So you're just gonna take your cup here, and you're gonna take her home and put her in a glass jar. And that's all you need to do.
Is this
That's
considered
it,
glass
that's all you do,
wine?
you don't feed her in the jar. She just keeps,
Yeah,
she's
we'll
drying
probably
out
do it.
on top.
I like to see it rise, but you can see it from the
If you
top.
pull the lid off,
I
does
had-
it mess it up? Because you're letting air out there?
Well, you don't want the lid on.
We don't want it on.
Does that,
Is everything just?
I would take this out so it gets air, okay? Because you don't want it. Again, our wild yeast comes from our air, so we want to give her a little bit of air. Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is like getting dry on the top. Is that
Right,
gonna
because-
affect it?
No, so that one, it is starting to get dry because we've had them out here. But, and if you don't have a cover for your thing, that's why I gave you two shower caps, one to go over your dough and one to go over your, whatever you're gonna do at home. And, I mean, this will cover like 3 mason jars, so that covers a lot. And see how you can see air is still getting in there because it's not tight. So again, use what works for you.
So we don't feed this the first week.
She does not need fed again today. Now, if you're somebody that wants to practice and you feed her, she's not going to get ruined by feeding her again today, but she doesn't need fed again until
Oh,
tomorrow.
I'm supposed to measure this.
No, it's fine.
Do you know if you can?
Because you're going to measure it tomorrow.
Excuse me, do you know if you can use alternative things? Because I have a friend that gluten-free, so can she use like coconut flour or do you use something
You
like
can,
that?
yeah.
Does it taste good?
I've never made it that way, so I can't give you a testimony to that. But what I can tell you is that because of the way sourdough works, those little yeast, wild yeast, little wonders, eat the gluten. So there's a lot of people that can't eat gluten that can eat sourdough. So, she's gonna need to experiment. Maybe you can give her a piece of yours or some of yours that has gluten in it, and then she can do a little taste test to see what works for her. But absolutely, you can make it gluten-free.
I have a little question.
Sure.
I've tasted different breads like this.
Mhm.
They all taste a little bit different. What causes that?
Probably that loaf tastes different than that loaf. So, that's a really good question. So let's get to what we're gonna do when we get home, okay? And we're gonna answer that, okay? So we're gonna go home, we're gonna put it in a glass jar. She can sit covered on the countertop, is what we're gonna do with her, okay? And then tomorrow, we're gonna do what we just did. We're gonna scoop out a 1/4 cup. She's gonna be a little bit runnier because she hasn't eaten overnight. We're gonna scoop out a 1/4 cup of starter, a quarter cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of water.
And that's written on the back of this, right?
It is.
In the red, is that the
Yeah.
red? Okay.
And what I would do if it was me, I would put it in a different jar. So I would always have 2 things going, but that's just me. So what's left in the glass container that we take her home and put her in, we're gonna take that right to the trash, we're gonna scoop it out, and we're gonna throw that away. And the reason we're doing that again is we're getting her used to your house, okay? And then we're done for tomorrow. We're gonna cover her up partially, she's gotta have a little bit of air. But like I said, if you put it in something, like you can see that she's getting air here, that's all we have to do. And then, so that's Sunday, so then on Monday, what are we gonna do? Same thing. We're gonna take a quarter cup of starter, quarter cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of water, throw the rest in the trash. Okay? So that's Monday. What are we gonna do on Tuesday?
Same thing.
Same thing. Quarter cup of starter, quarter cup of water, 2 tablespoons, quarter cup of flour, quarter cup of starter, 2 tablespoons of water, throw the rest in the trash. All right? We got to Wednesday. What are we gonna do? Same thing. I cannot tell you how many times people text me and say, okay, it's Tuesday, what do I do? Quarter cup of flour, quarter cup of starter, 2 tablespoons of water, throw the rest in the trash. Okay? So now we've had her in your house Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 5 days. So she's pretty used to your house now. So starting Wednesday, we could actually make a new loaf of bread if we wanted to. Okay? So then you would start all the way back from, you're going to have to feed her in the morning, so she doubles. And you can start off with exactly what we did today, starting Wednesday. And then, you always want to make sure you save a little bit. You got to save at least 25 grams somewhere. You don't want to use it all. You're going to save 25 grams or a quarter cup. Make sure you put it in a container so that you always have some to keep going.
So it will be building up more and more throughout that entire time.
After we get through Wednesday, it will, because we're always throwing what we don't want out. So once we get to Wednesday, and so let's say you don't want to make bread, take a quarter cup out, and then that other quarter cup that you have or about there, put her in a jar and put her in the refrigerator, because that's now your discard. And we can start saving her now because she's built up pretty strong and she's used to your house, and so we can start saving our discard. And discard can become starter. That's why the terminology is a little confusing.
It is, yes.
And you'll get it. The more you look at it, because that was my first thing is, what do you mean? Because in my mind, my discard was my starter. Well, you're right. It absolutely can.
So that discard you could share with someone else?
Yes.
Or not? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. But let her get strong enough first, so after Wednesday, then you can go ahead and start to share
What
it.
you put in the refrigerator for your discard, you could share,
Right.
right?
And remember, it's unfed at that point.
And then how long, once it's unfed, how long do you need to feed it to start making another loaf?
So let's say I want to make a loaf of bread when I go home today.
Yeah.
So my discard is in the refrigerator. I'll take 25 grams of discard out, and I put her in a bowl that I'm going to mix my bread in.
Yeah.
And I like to let it warm up a little bit, like an hour or so before I add my flour and my water. So I'll let her warm up for about an hour, and then I'll add my 25, and then she'll double, and then I'll start to make my bread. So even if I went home, say I got home at noon today, and I got all that going, I wouldn't make bread until tonight. So again, it's a little bit of planning time-wise. Now, could you go home, get your discard out, and make the loaf right then and there? Absolutely you could. So, and then, then we'll go to the next part. Okay, so are we good with what we're gonna do to make the starter our home friendly?
Yes, absolutely.
That's why I give you all my phone number, because you can all text me with questions.
So I wouldn't want to go home and make bread tonight.
Because I fed it, you actually could.
The one that's bubbly.
Yeah, well, and by the time she gets home, they're both gonna be lovely. The other thing I'll tell you is, like, help me with your name? Laura's gonna take it home. Now, number one was fed at 4 a.m., 4:30ish a.m. this morning. So she's gonna get to the point where she hits her peak. Okay, think of it. You went out and you ran a marathon and you crossed that finish line and you're just done. Okay? So she's gonna fall. So she rises, and then once she's at her peak, then she's gonna fall. So don't panic. She's supposed to do that. Okay? So number one may start to fall because it's been a while. Okay? But either you could both of those are good to go and bake with.
Because once you feed it once, it could be baked.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the purpose of the multiple days of feeding?
Because we want our eater to use your house. She's used to my house, but we want to get her strong and used to your house because she's gonna. If we were to put her under a microscope, we probably would see a difference. Your heat's different, like we said. Your animals, no animals, all that stuff. You know.
Dog hair in it.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Not at my house.
You know, so everybody's, if we were to put them under a microscope, it's going to look different, but that's okay. You know, again, I can't emphasize enough, there's really no right or wrong. And you're going to discover that. Like I said, you know, I've made 2 different loaves at the same time, and one turns out a little bit different than the other one. Why is that? I don't have an answer for you. It's just wherever it sat for a while or didn't sit or whatever. You know, maybe I wasn't paying attention when I measured, and maybe that one has a little bit less than the other one. Maybe it has a little more water. But even my Frisbees, you guys, we ate every bit of that because it still tastes good. You know, so maybe it didn't look Pinterest ready, but we still ate every bit. Because number one, we know what went inside of it. Number 2 is we know what it's going to do for our gut. You know, so I have a lady that took a class and she says, you know, my bread just doesn't look like yours, and I'm getting so discouraged. I may not do this anymore. Don't do that, you guys. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Unless you're in a sourdough bread competition, which I don't even know where there is one. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters that you made it, you got to touch it and help her. And they say your bread will take a lot of energy. So if like you're in a ticked off mood that day, it'll know that. If you're in a great loving mood all day, you know, and the sky is blue and the sun is shining and you're just as happy as a clam, you know, your bread will pick that up too. So we all have that vibrational energy. So, and it's, I mentioned this, when my dad was sick, you guys, and we went and moved in and took care of him, I didn't realize this till after the fact. But, so where his counter is and where he was, I could sit there all day and I just made bread after bread after bread. What I didn't realize is I could see exactly what was going on with him without sitting right there, intruding in his space. And so it's a form of, for me, it's a huge form of therapy. For you, it can be too. So, I'm going to put some gloves on. Actually, I'm not. It's my bread. I'm not going to do this. So we're all good with what we're going to do with the starter, correct? Okay? So, that's our starter. I want you to see what you're going to do with your dough that you have made, okay? We're going to go home. We're going to tug and tuck one more time, okay? And then we're going to let her sit on the counter for 4 or 5 hours. So this guy, where did I put her?
What, there's the hole here?
Yeah, that one.
That hole.
Let's see, I got
Just like
flour
4
over
times,
there.
1 time around? No, you took the flour.
Oh, yeah.
Tug and pull 1 time. I think so. Look, it's not here.
And I want my scooper.
We don't have to tug and pull one time.
Oh, okay, okay,
Carl has to leave, but we don't have to.
okay. Well, we'll be done by 12.
Cindy, when you're saying 1 more time, so it's 1 time all the way around 4 times.
Correct. And then you're gonna put your shower cap on, your tea towel, whatever you want. You're gonna cover her fully and let her sit for 4 hours. Now, Y'all can come over here, you just gotta give Carl space to film, but if you wanna stand up and come on over, you're welcome to do that. So if I was at home, this would be on my counter. I don't put a parchment paper on, I like my flour on my counter, but you certainly could put parchment paper down. Now, she's been rising since last night, so it's got more bubbles and it's higher than yours probably will because she's got a long time, but I wanted to visually be able to show you this.
Can we let these rise overnight and then cook them tomorrow? Or is that too long?
Okay, so that's a great question. Remember, when she gets her sour taste is when she's in the refrigerator.
Okay.
So this is what you're gonna do before you go to bed and put her in the refrigerator. Now, Mary, could you let her sit on the counter overnight and then put her in the refrigerator another 12 hours? Yes, but you're delaying that baking
Yeah,
time.
right.
No worries, you can do that. You can overproof it, but I mean, it takes a lot to overproof. So if I had I would actually dip this in my little water bowl first is what I would do just so she doesn't get sticky, but, oh, and I didn't put my flour down. And this I don't measure, it's just whatever looks good. And so I'm just gonna scoop her out. You could use a spatula, would work just fine. And scoop her out. And our goal here, now Carol, can you see this too? Can you see all the bubbles that she has? You know, our goal here is not to manhandle her. We're just gonna love on her a little bit, okay? And our goal is not to add a lot of flour. I mean, really our goal is not to add any flour, but you're gonna see that we do automatically add a little bit. That's why I say you're gonna add some at this point. And I will tell you, I am an extremely blessed woman because my husband does all these dishes.
You are blessed.
Yes. Which is another thing that I don't think I've mentioned yet. If I have, it's okay to repeat this. So, when you clean this out, when you clean your hands out, when you clean your spatula off, do it over the trash can. As little of this as you can put down your sink, the better. Because again, it's just sticky dough. And then I like to scrape her out. Get as much out as I can. And again, that little bit you have to throw out too. I'm gonna move this so y'all can see. And then we're just going to fold her over a little bit. So right in half. See how she's a little bit sticky, and you're not adding flour in on purpose, you just don't want her to stick. And then I'm gonna fold her over the other way. And again, if it's your counter, it doesn't stick like this. And fold her over again. And then you're gonna see, okay, she's not sticky anymore.
You looking to fold her over in that process?
Until she feels right. I mean, it really, it's not a direct answer, I know, but
Okay, that's all right.
but you can tell how different she is already. I probably went 3 or 4 times, and she's just not quite as sticky. And then, then this is where I love on her. Okay, so all you're gonna do, you see my hands tucked under her, so I'm putting that under, and you're forming her into a ball. And tuck under, and you're just, with this hand I'm turning her, with this hand I'm tucking. So you're just, again, just giving her a little love. There's some air bubbles there. Now, it depends what you like. I like to see the air bubbles on my baked loaf. If that irritates you, you can poke them with the pin if you want to. I like that personally. And you can see now she's not sticking at all. So I didn't necessarily add flour, but there is a little bit more flour. So I'm pretty comfortable with putting her in my batten overnight. And I apologize, I should have brought that with me. Let me go get that. Any questions on that?
No.
So, let's say probably most of you don't have a batten at home, so you're just gonna use, either you're gonna wash that dish out that we just used, rinse it out and dry it, or you can use another dish, okay, to put her in overnight. And then what you're gonna do, at this point, I use rice flour. Rice flour is a little bit thinner. It's very fine. And so I actually will line it with rice flour, but the same flour that you just used is 100% fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, you just take your dish and just, if you have to use your hand, you can place it with your hand, whatever works, but you're just lining that bowl because no matter what bowl you use, you just don't want her to stick, because what we're gonna do after we let her go in the refrigerator overnight is we're gonna dump her out. So this is our top of our bread, so we want to put her in upside down, okay? Because we want that round part to be in the round part of our bowl. So we'll just place her in, let her go in there. Now, if I had more water, she doesn't look great. It's a little bit of flour. What I'll do is dip my hands in water, and then I just kind of, pinch her together, just so the bottom.
You put the makeup on.
What's that?
You pretty her up.
Yeah, exactly. And so, so now she's gonna go in the refrigerator up to 36 hours. So let's say we're all gonna do this tonight, we're gonna put her to sleep. Let's say you got church tomorrow, and then you're at pickleball, and then you go to golf, and then, oh my gosh, there's just no time to make my bread. And so, no worries, she can stay in there up to 36 hours. And
What is the soonest that you could?
I like to put her in for at least 12 hours, again, because the longer she's in there, the more sour she's gonna be. So if you don't want her sour, then leave her in there for 8 or 12 hours. But again, the more fermentation, the better for our gut too.
Is that uncovered in the refrigerator or covered?
She is covered with her shower cap or saran wrap, or I don't know, tea towel might not be enough, so I would put some kind of plastic on her. If you don't have a shower cap and you use saran wrap, you might want to put a little bit of flour on her, because if depending on your bowl, if she rises, it'll get sticky. So any questions on what we're going to do to put her to bed tonight? So I'm going to show you what you're going to do in the morning. Okay, she would be a little firmer because she would have been in the refrigerator. Now, we think that she might not rise in the refrigerator, but she actually will a little bit. So, not a whole bunch, but she has the potential. So I'm going to be careful with this because I got to redo this again. So we're going to pretend that she was in there overnight. Okay? She's going to be a little bit bigger. She's going to be a little bit firmer because she's cold now. And this is where you're going to score it. So, to do the ones I brought you, it's just a real simple C score I have. But you may be able to run online because you're so excited and you want to make a really pretty star pattern or whatever you want to make. But this is the time that you do that. So you'll score her on a piece of parchment paper. Of course, this flour wouldn't be here, but you're going to score her on the parchment paper. This is where you get to make a choice. So a lot of people preheat their Dutch oven in the oven for 30 minutes. I choose to. You don't have to. You could actually just put it just like this in the Dutch oven, in the preheated oven, and put her in. I also put 4 ice cubes. So pretend I have a Dutch oven here. I'll put her in my Dutch oven, and then I'll take 4 ice cubes and put them in underneath the paper. Quickly put the lid on. If you do put it in and preheat your Dutch oven, you don't have to put the cover in, or at least I don't, because I'm so dang on worried about grabbing that hot lid. So I don't put the lid in because I don't want to grab a hot lid. Because I'm in such a hurry to get all that steam in there. You know, I don't want to grab that hot lid. So again, you get to do what you want to, but that's just what I do. And then she's there with the cover on, put her in the oven, 485. I have found in my oven, 38 minutes is what works really well for us. You can play around with that. She's not brown. Like maybe the top of the ear was brown, but she's not real brown after 38 minutes. Take the cover off, put it on the stove top because she's super hot, and lower your oven to 465. Don't forget to press start. Why do I tell you that? Because I've done it many times. And then no cover on her. I cook her for 8 to 10 minutes again, to get your desired brownness. Because some people like them really light, some people like them really dark. So whatever you like, you can do. And then this truly is the hardest part of sourdough bread, I think. So you take her out, I take her out right away, and she's gonna be crackling. You know, even 465 is hot. You put her on your wire rack, and then this is the hardest part. You gotta give her 2 hours. Okay? You gotta let that dough finish cooking. Yeah.
In the Dutch oven.
Nope,
No,
you
you take
take
it
her
out.
all out. Yep, so I will still do it with my gloves on. I scoop the bread out, put the bread right on my wire rack, and you just let her sit there for a couple hours. And again, you can physically hear her crackle a little bit, and she's just gotta finish cooking. And so if you say, okay, that Cindy is, you know, I'm just not gonna wait 2 hours. It might be a little doughy, because she hasn't had the time to finish what she needs to
Keep your
do.
husbands away, hide the butter. I mean, really, the smell alone.
The smell alone, that's why I say, it really, Jeanette, it's the hardest part,
Oh my gosh.
you know? So,
So the 200 is the first time when you're taking her out, that you want her to be at least 200 degrees.
correct,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So when I took that one out this morning, it was right at 210,
Okay, perfect.
yeah. And that was 8 minutes the second time. So again, you're gonna look at what you like. We actually like it darker than that, but to bring to show y'all, that probably looks more like a traditional loaf, it's a little bit lighter, but we actually like the crust, you know, a little bit darker.
Now, your instructions say preheat to 450, but you
Oh,
said turn it
so
down.
you have an old one, I have changed that.
Okay.
Yes,
So 485?
yeah.
I was gonna question
Yeah.
earlier.
and thank you, because you have an old sheet. Somebody else pointed, because originally, remember how I said I changed things?
Yeah, yeah.
So originally, when I started, it was at 450, so if y'all wanna start, maybe you don't like 485, feel free to do that. I have found what works best for our loaves is 485. But you could certainly start at 450 if you wanted to.
And then 485, you turn it down to 465?
Correct.
For the extra minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question, and thank you, 'cause I've changed it on the newer sheets, but you have an older
Okay.
one.
No problem.
What other questions do you have for me?
Come over and bake it for me.
I know.
Now, the whole purpose is so y'all learn how to do this.
I'm gonna take a picture of her loaf and saying, okay, honey, this is what
This
we
is
want.
what it should look like.
This is what ours looks like.
But just remember, it's okay if, like I said, you guys, I've made several hundred loaves probably. My first ones were Frisbees. I make sure and tell you that. So tomorrow, if yours looks like a Frisbee, you'll go, I'm on my way. I did it.
You don't wanna make them and sell them.
What's that?
You don't wanna make them.
You know, I've had numerous people ask me that. You know, I just have a lot on my plate. Is there someday I might do that? Or if you call me and say, hey Cindy, I have company coming in, would you please make me a loaf? Like, I might consider that. I have 3 houses right now. I have a thriving business that I literally go around the country and teach. So to add one more thing on my plate is just a little much. But I would certainly, you know, do it for, I'm not gonna make 30 loaves and take it to the Brownwood. I'm not gonna do that. But if you ever want to have a refresher course, like as Mary mentioned in her class or in her email, I do actually charge for this because there is a lot of work that goes into it. But you can always come back for a refresher course. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, saying, okay, I just need to see it one more time. Like I said, I do them at my house, or I would love to do it at your house and meet your friends, because the more people we can give this message to, the better. You don't have to go to the grocery store for bread, at least, and crackers, and our list could go on and on and on. I mean, that loaf of banana bread, you know, that's another great gift. So think of when you want to give your girlfriends gifts, different gifts. Nothing says I love you like homemade bread. All right? Anything else?
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right. Yay, great job. Thank you very much. Yeah.